Hello, check, 1, 2, 3. Hello, check, 1, 2, 3. Well, here we are. An empty Studio A at 18 PR. If you would have asked us about this a little over a year ago, we had a number of people in the beginning telling us we were doing everything wrong. And for the first, particularly 2 or 3 podcasts, they were right. Podcast aficionados would pretty much all ask the same question: what are you guys doing? The answer was pretty simple. We were remembering what used to be classified as addictive audio. The golden years of radio. Personalities ruled the air. And you could listen to a radio station during drive time or late at night, and it would take you somewhere else. An escape, telling you things that were provocative, enjoyable, or just get you slapping your knee. People on the radio became your friends, and you had no idea what they really even looked like. We wanted our podcast to be an escape. Whoever you are, wherever you're at on the entire globe, we wanted you to wonder what those crazy Texans were up to. We wanted you to be able to listen for half an hour or so and enjoy not being told what to think or how to vote or, well, you get what I mean. We wanted you to be able to just escape your everyday life and enjoy being somewhere else, cost-free. And like a great ride at an amusement park, it will sometimes scare you, sometimes take your breath away, and other times just make you grin from ear to ear. Then we go to our analytics and we begin to look closely at the number of people participating in the audio that we're sending out. And always, without fail, there is a certain amount of increase. Now, why is that important? Well, the truth of the matter is you can bring the whole crew together here and not one of us have won the lottery. We still buy groceries and turn the lights on like everybody else, like every one of you. And the idea of monetizing a podcast is important. And to any podcast producer, except for those aforementioned lottery winners, that's important. I can't tell you how much we appreciate the advertising and public relations firm of 18 PR, who actually conceived the free-range Texan and have invested. But sitting here in this quiet studio, waiting for one by one the crew to filter in to produce another free-range Texan, I can't help but think of where we've been, where we're at, and where we're going. And most of all, thank you for listening to our podcast. So it is with love and respect for all of you that once again, our Free-Range Texan podcast takes flight. The following is an 18PR production. From deep in the heart of West Texas.
It's a one-of-a-kind, worldwide transmission. Heroes and Heroines File. The Free-Range Talent File. The Unexplained Files. The Ain't Love Grand File. Michael Shawn's Campfire.
And the Free Range Texan News Network.
A clear and present detour on the road of everyday life.
You're listening to the Free Range Texan podcast.
With our host, who's been voted the hardest working man in podcasting, Michael Shawn.
It is episode 33 of the Free Range Texan podcast. Great to have everybody on board. What a show we've got lined up for you. We have, among other things, the right and ready, fun to look at, even better to hear sing, Casey Baker. Casey Baker, our guest. She is a Texas singer-songwriter and is climbing the charts, and we were lucky to get her to give up a little of her very valuable time these days and be a guest on our Free Range Texan podcast. So that's going to be coming up on our Free Range Talent File. And, of course, as always, Michael Shawn's Campfire. That's a mystery, and you never know until you get there. The other thing is this. We had another one of those high-level conference room meetings at 18PR. They said they liked it when I put some telephone calls on and think it is a good chance for our listeners to be able to give their 2 cents on our podcast. So, again, we will be answering the phone for a while. That is a very big, high-tech deal that we can do in this marvelously appointed Studio A at the 18PR Studios. It's the big show, and we're glad you're with us. Hey, wait a minute. What's that? Free Range Texan podcast. Who's calling?
Hey, Michael. This is John Sanders.
Who?
John Sanders. You know.
Oh, I think I remember you. What's on your mind, little buddy? What's up?
I was just calling because I was reading the paper, and I just don't know what's happening in this world, and I just wanted to talk to you about it.
Now, wait just a minute. Let's qualify our source here. You're reading the paper. What paper are you reading?
Well, I was reading the local newspaper, and I read about what will thieves not do. I read that thieves had broken in to the local police station, and they stole the commode.
Holy
out
smoke.
of the men's room.
Now, let's examine that. First of all, what kind of fool breaks in to steal anything anywhere? That's just, it's just low ball. But breaking into a police station, that cuts it right there.
I know.
Well, what happened?
Well, the good news is that they've started an investigation. The bad news is they have nothing to go on.
Do you believe he said that?
Hanging up, John.
Bye.
Well, it's just another episode of what everybody is saying is the best little podcast in Texas. Come on, everybody. Let's saddle up and ride. Have digital microphone will travel. This show not made in New York City, not made in Hollywood. I'm thinking we should turn this one up, y'all. You're listening to the Free Range Texan podcast. We interrupt this podcast for a special report from the Free Range Texan News Network. This just in to the Free Range Texan News Network desk. Popular local West Texas area rancher Buford Doggy Roper was rushed to the emergency room. The 75-year-old rancher's hand was caught in the squeeze gate while working cattle. The doctor struck up a conversation as our roving reporters listened. Eventually, the topic got around to politicians and their role as our leaders. We know that when Buford talks, West Texans listen. The old rancher said, well, as I see it, most politicians are post-turtles. Not being familiar with the term, the doctor and our reporters ask him, what are post-turtles? Well, the old rancher said, when you're driving down a country road and you come across a fence post with a turtle balanced on top, that is a post-turtle. The old rancher saw a puzzled look on the doctor's face, so he continued to explain. You see, he didn't get up there by himself. He doesn't belong up there. He doesn't know what to do while he's up there. He's elevated beyond his ability to function, and you just wonder what kind of rocket science brain trust put him up there to begin with. And that, my friends, was the best explanation of most politicians that we have heard. You've been listening to an FRTNN special report. Time now for another segment of the Free Range Talent File. Brought to you by A-Team PR, bringing a host of creative media production and public relations services to our exclusive list of clients. Maybe you could hire the A-Team. And now, here's the next segment of the Free Range Talent File. On the Free Range Talent File, we have had a time catching up with this young lady because her career is taking off. But Casey Baker, welcome to the Free Range Texan.
Wow, that's a great introduction. Thank you. Hello, everyone.
First of all, for the people who don't know, you're a real true-life Texan young lady. Isn't that true?
That is true. I was actually born in Oklahoma, but I was raised in Texas, and so I claim both Oklahoma roots and Texas roots.
I wish I had a nickel for everybody who said, well, I was actually born in Oklahoma, but I got here as soon as I could.
Yeah, they do say that a lot around here, don't they?
Oh, you've got a tune that we're going to get to play later on in the podcast that is climbing up the Texas Regional Radio Report charts. Life is taking a toll on me. Where did you record that?
In Denison, Texas, with my producers Jesse Sims and Pat Mansky.
It's got a great sound is the reason why I was asking. We noticed that right away. It could have been produced in Austin. It could have been produced in Nashville. And we enjoyed hearing that here on the podcast.
Well, you know who is on that. I mean, my whole album, When the Party's All Over. You ever heard of a man named Milo Deering? He's very well known here in Texas, and currently he's playing with the Eagles, with Vince Gill and the boys. So he has been playing with it. I mean, Milo plays fiddle guitar on that whole album, and he does fiddle, and he does dobro, and then he does mandolin.
I was going to ask you about who's doing the fiddle and who's doing the dobro on that, because it sounded so good.
It's Milo. I'm telling you, the man is a genius. He's just gold. Everything he touches is just gold. So we reached out to him. I was writing these songs like back to back, and so my producers are like, "Hey, Casey, we need to find somebody to kind of put some melodic kind of choices into your songs." And I'm like, "Oh, well, I don't know anyone, because you have to understand where I started, Michael. I was so green, and I didn't know hardly anybody in the industry. And so a friend of mine says, "Hey, you need Milo Deering," and I truly didn't know that he was playing with the Eagles. So the funny story is I guess, they talk in the music community. I don't know if you know that, but they do. So all your listeners know that they all talk, which is a good thing. It worked out in my favor. But so when I reached out to Milo in an email, and I don't know, I act like he was just Joe Blow, just like me, and I just said, hey, I'm doing this album here in Bentonville, so would you like to come play on it, blah, blah, blah. And when I came back into the studio, and I was telling Jesse Sims, who my producer at the time was, and I was just saying, I contacted Milo, and hopefully he'll respond. And his face, I will never forget it, was like this look of, okay, Casey, there's no way that he's going to want to come in, but, good try. And lo and behold, I want to say about a week later, Milo texted me from Australia when he was out there with the Eagles and said, he's coming back home in a couple weeks and he would love to play on our album. And so when he got home, he did. I mean, he showed off his mad skills, and we were so grateful because he truly, honestly, the songs were good, but until he touched them, it just changed. It gave it life. And so I give a lot of great contribute to him.
That's what a guy like Milo does when he walks in the studio.
Absolutely. He's a genius. I mean, and so he, the thing with him is like if you were to listen to our whole album, see what happened to me when I started later in life. I mean, I'll just go ahead and jump in just a real quick segment of it.
Sure.
And after my daughter had went to college, I was already picked up a guitar. Like, I taught myself how to play the guitar. My dad played back in the years, and I sang with my mother when she had a band out there in California. And I had children early. At 19, I started raising a family. And so those options for me to become a singer or do this, be a musician, full-time musician was out the window. My role, my priority was my family. And so as my daughter got as she got older, I thought, what, I can't shake this desire inside of me to sing and do all that. And I didn't know I was going to be a writer. I'm being really honest with you. I had no idea. I just wanted to play some songs. I wanted to practice on the guitar, so I bought this cheap guitar and just taught myself how to play. And after I learned about 3 or 4 chords and was able to do transitions, then all of a sudden, it was just very spiritual. It's like something happened, like something connected inside my spirit, and I just started writing from day one. And so the very first song I ever written, which is on our album, it was Lonely for Love. Every one of those songs I wrote back to back, and that's what happened. And so when I went to the studio, I only went like maybe 2 or 3 songs, and Jesse was like, Casey, you really need to record this in an album together. And I'm like, okay. So I went home and just boom, 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 just started writing the songs. I came in the studio and recorded it. So it was very green. I went from raising a family, barely playing guitar just well enough to just write music, and then going to the studio recording it. And then after it got mixed and mastered, we released it. And then, our first song, went to number 9, which I was shocked. I couldn't believe that, the second song I've ever written went to number 9 on the Texas charts. And now, so it's just a godly thing. I love it.
Honestly, I've had so many different people tell me they've known all their life that they wanted to do this. They felt it inside them, but at a certain point, the music just needs to come out. And that sounds like you have that same experience.
It really did. I mean, I think there's some trueness when people say that it comes from pain and stuff like that. Because in my life, I mean, I buried the daughter early in life. That's what the song's about, right? Life has taken a toll on me. I mean, life can be hard when you're not, you don't learn the first time around. You have to, when you're a little stubborn, it can actually give you life lessons. I learned something, you know what, Michael, I learned there's a saying that says, either you learn patience or it'll be taught to you. Life has taken a toll means, you know what, you might get away with it the first time, but I guarantee you the second and the third time it's going to tear you up. And that's what this song really was about. It's about living life way too fast. And that's my life. That's my story, on this song. It's just living. And now I have a daughter, and there's these moments I see, oh, my gosh, she's acting like me. And back in the day, so I tell her, slow down. You don't want to be like me. I get it. So that's what that song's about. I just wanted to write something in that kind of sense.
Well, let me ask you a question, and then we're going to we're going to play your song. Life has taken a toll on me. to a young person like a teenager who might be listening to this interview, you went through a lot of things before you began to accomplish what you're accomplishing now. What would you say to that young teenager thinking, how do I accomplish this in my life? What would be your advice?
I think it's with anything in your life. I think when someone has a deep desire, right, it doesn't really leave you. It just lingers. And timing is everything. And I truly, truly mean that right now. As I'm 45 years old, I can say timing is everything. It all happens in God's timing. But you have to do your homework. And well, I'll just say it like this. It's like my daughter, she wanted to be a sports therapist. And so she wasn't making the grades and she wasn't putting the time to put into it. And so I told Emily, I said, baby girl, you really don't want to be a sports therapist. And she goes, yes, I do. Yes, I do. And I said, no, you don't. And I can prove to you that you don't. Because your time and energy that you put into volleyball, you're there. Like you do the extra workouts, you do everything you can. So your heart is in volleyball, but your heart is not into the other part. Because if it was, you'll be doing extra work, extra classes, learning your craft. You'd be doing the exact same passions that you have right now, the same things. And so what I say to people that are younger than I, that are still thinking, is you really search your heart and really see what you're willing to sacrifice. Don't waste a lot of time on things that you feel that you need. It's something that you should already be striving to do. And of course, just always be humble, and everything's a learning, and wait. Just wait. The doors will open. It's like I was trying to tell you my story now. If I would have started this music stuff back at 19, I would have failed at it. I didn't have enough life in me. I didn't have enough, I don't know. I think I was disconnected from reality in a lot of sense. But nowadays, I think now it's timing. I've learned a lot. I'm humble. I appreciate everything. And I think that's really all it is. Just be true to yourself and really learn your craft. And don't waste your time on things that you don't really want to do that just sound good. Those kind of things.
That, of course, is great wisdom, and thank you for sharing that with us. But I challenge you to go to freerangetexan.net, and once you get there, go to the blog where we have an article up about Casey Baker with a number of pictures, because she looks great. And you mentioned your age a while ago, and there is no way. I bet you have to show your ID when you go certain places.
Oh, my God. I look forward to showing my ID. No, I mean, thank you for saying that. Believe me, I do. I feel it inside. I do. I don't know. I think my mother looks young, and I think, I don't know. Maybe pictures lie. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe you're just seeing my heart. That's what you're probably seeing. It's young at heart.
Also, we want to remind folks on the Free Range Texan House of Treasures. Now, that's an upscale outfit right there. You go to freerangetexan.net and you can click on that. And there's a place there where Casey Baker's downloads on some of her latest recordings are available there, and we invite you to go get a load of that. And Casey Baker, it is such a pleasure to have you on the Free Range Texan podcast. You are a great guest and a fun interview, and I can already tell you, and everybody through the glass in there is shaking their head, yes, they know what I'm going to say. We want you to come back and keep us updated and bring some more of your music onto our podcast, because it is great fun having you here.
Oh, my goodness. The pleasure is all mine, first and foremost, and I want to appreciate all your audience listening to us today and giving us an opportunity to be heard. It's a passion of mine, and I feel like it's their music, and that's what drives me every day, is to create music that people want to hear.
A very special treat for our listeners. Here it is, Casey Baker, and Life Has Taken a Toll on Me.
You have a phenomenal voice.
You're making me blush.
Well, don't you look so pretty, standing in your faded jeans, holding a cigarette in one hand while chasing down whiskey. I wish you could see me. You would see what you've become. I don't claim that I know much, but I do know life can be redone. Here you are in another bar, acting like a fool. You thought you found row if I could have told you. Would you have acted differently? 9 months and 5 hours later, you and this cowboy's gonna have your baby. I can hear mama's words coming back to me. Slow down, you're going way too fast. Life has a way of creeping up on you. You'll live the rest of your days in the past. Mama meant I didn't get till I was 40. Life has had too many regrets to be free. Now I'm trapped inside this worn down body. Oh, life's taking its toll on me. Oh, life's taking its toll on me. Once again, here I am saying I do. These photographs are all I have of a girl I once knew. Trying to show you what fast living can do. Slow down, my daughter, before your life takes a toll on you too. I can hear mama's words coming back to me. Slow down, you're going way too fast. Life has a way of creeping up on you. You'll live the rest of your days in the past. My mama meant I didn't get till I was 40. My life has had too many regrets to be free. Now I'm trapped inside this worn down body. Oh, life's taking its toll on me. Oh, life's taking its toll on me.
You've been listening to the Free Range Talent File. If you'd like more information about our guest, just go to our website at freerangetexan.net. Also, submissions to be interviewed on the Free Range Talent File should be sent to our website at freerangetexan.net. It started as just a dream, from which grew a vision. All of us knew from the beginning that this whole concept would follow a path unlike any other podcast. We assembled a team and began production, and what has grown out of these humble beginnings is a totally unique podcast. Theater of the Mind lives. Part truth, part tall tales. Just take a look at what's happened now. Visit our website at freerangetexan.net. Come along, ride out yonder on the Free Range Texan Podcast. Hi, this is Michael Shawn. Welcome to our Campfire. And thank you, Barbara Smith, for great inspiration. A few years ago, Susan decided it was time to plan a family reunion. The get-together took a considerable amount of organizing, but the location for the event was never in question. Padre Island on the Texas coast was everyone's favorite. On a Friday evening, nearly a dozen households from the extended family had arrived at the site. The partners ranged in age from a baby girl only 8 months old to a great Uncle Jeremiah, who had recently celebrated his 90th birthday. The family cooked a big communal dinner over a roaring campfire with all of the adults and the big kids helping out and the younger ones playing and watching it all taking place. Afterward, they all sat around the fire, visiting and telling stories until the late summer sun had set. Babies and toddlers had long since fallen asleep in their parents' arms. Nobody wanted to be the first to leave the circle and the warm feelings that the gathering of loved ones seemed to create. The bonfire was barely a glowing mound of embers by the time someone sensibly suggested that they have the rest of the weekend to enjoy one another's company. So they should tuck into their sleeping bags in various campers and tents in order to get a good night's sleep for a full day of fun tomorrow. The weekend sped by. By Sunday evening, no one was ready to leave, but the realities of the work week began to be felt. Before breaking camp, they all agreed that these camping trip reunions should be an annual event. Susan couldn't have been more pleased with the way her small idea had created such marvelous memories for the people she loved. A few weeks later, Susan received a large padded envelope in the mail. She could see from the return address that great Uncle Jeremiah had sent it to her. Carefully slicing open the seal, she pulled out a large photograph from the family reunion of all of them gathered around the campfire that first fabulous evening at sunset. Jeremiah must have stepped away from the circle to take the picture in the twilight, and the shot was perfectly framed. Susan was just tickled to have such a special memento for that wonderful weekend, and she quickly picked up the phone to call her great Uncle Jeremiah to thank him. "I'm glad you like it. Just a little reminder of that special weekend you created." They talked about the picture being so dark and surreal. You'd swear it was taken with black and white film, except for the orange-red glow of the campfire's smoldering embers. Susan decided to frame it and hang it in her kitchen, and so she did. Inevitably, summer's warmth gave way to fall, and then the Texas winter set in. But Susan found that glancing at the photo was enough to warm her heart. It was often the first thing she looked at in the morning, and the last before she went to bed at night. She especially loved the way the family seemed to be drawn towards the campfire's lasting glow of embers. Early one cold Saturday morning in the middle of January, Susan made herself a cup of coffee before sitting down at the kitchen table to listen to her morning podcast. From habit, she looked up at the photograph taken the previous summer. The coffee mug fell from her hand. The photograph had changed. The campfire embers were no longer glowing. They were dark, extinguished. She stared, unblinking. How could that be? And at that moment, her phone rang. Susan barely heard it. Her entire focus was fixed on the center of the photograph, where the red glow had always been. It took several rings to divert her attention, enough to realize she needed to answer the phone.
"Susan?"
the caller said. It was her mother's voice.
"I'm afraid your great-uncle Jeremiah passed away last night."
And there, on the wall of Susan's kitchen, the embers in the photograph never glowed again. I'm Michael Shawn. Just another tale at our campfire. Adios, my friends. We've been slaving away here on the best little podcast in Texas. Well, already, look what time it is. We're working on the wrap-up of episode 33 here with a warm appreciation for Casey Baker for being on our Free Range Texan podcast. And we want to remind you that Casey Baker's music is available on the Free Range Texan House of Treasures at freerangetexan.net. And we would like to humbly ask our listeners to share our podcast. There's a concept, or just share the freerangetexan.net website. That's where you can see all the things that Free Range Texan is up to. And we're closing out this year with a bang. Man, have we got some stuff coming up. I just don't have time to talk about it all right now. And next year, well, the adventure continues. You're going to see some things that you don't often hear or see on a podcast. Isn't that just like the folks here at the Free Range Texan? Our security chief, Foxy the Wonder Dog, has done a tip-top job on this show. Foxy, go get in the pickup. Take 'em home, sweetie pie.
Thank y'all for listening to the Free Range Texan podcast, produced at A-Team PR Studios out yonder in West Texas, with our host, who's been voted the hardest working man in podcasting, Michael Shawn. Feedback or submissions to our program can be submitted on our website, freerangetexan.net. That's freerangetexan.net. This is Sweetie Pie on behalf of Michael Shawn and the crew here in Studio A, where we're all looking forward to spending time with you on our next bi-weekly episode of the Free Range Texan podcast. Y'all come back now. You hear?
Free Range Texan podcast. End transmission.